Social selling has become the norm in 2025. Everybody's trying to build a personal brand and increase their sales deals through LinkedIn. But is it really the magic wand that everybody claims, or is it just another buzzword in 2025? Well, to cut through the hype and give you some real actionable insights on how to do social selling, we have with us Mandy McEwen. Hi, Mandy, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Mandy is a trainer, is a mentor, is a marketeer, started off as a marketeer and now she trains so many sales reps. She's also the go-to authority for social selling on LinkedIn. So just like I said, social selling has become a norm and you are an expert in social selling. So just tell us how it works.
Yes, so loaded question here on on how it works, but when you mentioned, is it a magic wand or is it a buzzword? There's no such thing really as a magic wand when it comes to sales and marketing, unfortunately. Wish there was. But it does make a massive difference when it comes to building relationships. And I've been social selling before I even knew that social selling was a thing. I've been marketing online since 2007 and been training others on how to use LinkedIn since 2017. And the reason I started using LinkedIn back in the day, really 2015, for my agency, Mod Girl Marketing, was because I found it easier to connect with people and get people to respond to me versus just blanket emails, right? And at the time, I was selling local online marketing services to local businesses in Kansas City.
Right.
So I was able to build real relationships on the platform. And this was before, LinkedIn was even cool. People were still using it as a job site back then. So at its core, LinkedIn or social selling and LinkedIn social selling is really just about relationship building because you can do so much more from a human to human level than you can via email or picking up the phone.
Right, right. But it's also a little complicated when it comes to LinkedIn and, like you said, building relationships. Okay, but how do you take that first step? And how do you know that you're taking it in the right direction?
Yeah, that can be tricky, right? So it all comes down to strategy. So what are we doing on the back end first before we even send a LinkedIn message when it comes to social selling? So we need to be strategic because you can waste a lot of time on
Right.
LinkedIn. I mean, it's a social media platform at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. They're all social channels and we can all go down rabbit holes of getting sucked in and wasting time. It's really easy to do, right? So at its core, we need to figure out what are we trying to accomplish here. So I always tell people, before you get started, you need to have four things. And actually, I can share my screen here and show you what these four things are because I think it's important that everyone realize this. So let me share this real quick. So the the four things right here that everyone needs to know, let me do a presenter view here, is we have to get super clear on our goals. So, what is it that we're trying to accomplish and our purpose? Why are we trying to accomplish those goals? The audience. So, who exactly are we trying to get in front of? Who do we want to get the attention of? And then our USP, which is our unique selling proposition. What makes us stand out? What makes us unique? Not just the company, but us as human beings. And so, we really need to get clear on these things before we jump in to executing on a social selling strategy. Does that make sense?
Yes, completely, completely. So usually we see that, these are the things which are not clear in the mind of sales reps, the goals, the purpose, the audience. But when it comes to audience, basically prospecting on LinkedIn, how do you do that?
Yes. So my favorite way to do that is via Sales Navigator. Now, it's not necessary to use Sales Navigator, but 95% of the teams I train all have Sales Navigator licenses. The sad news is that most of them aren't using it the way it should be used, and people are wasting lots of money. Companies are wasting lots of money on Sales Nav because they're just using it as another research tool like a Zoom info, and it's so much more than that. So I'll give you some tips now if you don't have Sales Nav or if you do have Sales Nav. But What we want to do is from an ABM marketing standpoint, we're going to select the accounts that we're going after. It's a lot easier if we start from the account level versus the individual level. So we all have territories, we all have different types of accounts we're trying to get if you're in sales. And so we have those accounts loaded up, whether it's in Sales Navigator or it's somewhere in your CRM. And then what we're doing is we're finding those people at the organizations. And the biggest tip I have for everyone here is we want to find people who are actively using the LinkedIn platform from those organizations, right? And that's who we want to connect with
Right.
because I don't like when people are wasting their time on, you know, professionals who don't use the platform. There's a lot of people who haven't logged into LinkedIn in 6 months, right? They've left one comment in the last 4 months. They haven't posted in 9 months. Those are probably not the best people to go after. So with Sales Navigator, you're able to drill down and figure out who's posted on LinkedIn. You can obviously go after the decision makers, but I also like going a little bit bigger because it takes multiple decision makers usually at an organization to make a decision. So you could also go across departments. Like let's say there's a mini thought leader in the marketing department that has lots of followers and posts consistently, but maybe you're targeting sales. That's okay. You can make friends with that person in marketing, leave comments, engage with their stuff, send a connection request, build a relationship, ask questions, and then that person can introduce you to the right contact. So it's all about finding those people who are actively using the platform, ideally in your ICP, engaging with them, commenting, finding something in common or something to call out, something in the news you saw, something about their company, making personalized connections, sending videos, sending voice notes. But this is a genuine relationship building tactic, but it all starts at the company level.
Right. That's a great insight, Mandy. Also, one quick question is that usually sales rep have this in mind that okay, if I am trying to connect with somebody, do I need to have a good number of followers? Only then the other person will kind of notice me.
Yeah, that's a really good question. No, not necessarily, but I will say your profile has to look legit. That's the very first thing I do with sales teams is I help them optimize their profile. It's why I built my Lumi AI tool. We built it. My team, we literally have a AI tool that optimizes sellers' profiles in under 5 minutes, custom to them. I did that for a reason because most sellers do not have optimized profiles and it scares their prospects away before they even, have a chance to reach out. So you don't necessarily have to have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 followers. I do tell people try to get to 500 minimum. So if you're below 500 connections, make that a goal. Do whatever you can. I mean, obviously, don't add a bunch of spammers. Go to your network. Who do you know? Who have you met, in the past, recently? Add everyone you know to your network. Try to get it to 500 minimum. But I wouldn't let that deter anyone. The biggest thing is, do you look legit? Or do you scream, I'm going to sell you something in your profile, right? There's a lot of profile tips we could go for. We don't have time today, but bottom line is your profile needs to be valuable and tell people how it is you help them and show examples of that. But I don't necessarily think you need to have lots of followers.
Right. Can you show us a way of, how we can optimize our profiles, what needs to be done? If you can
Absolutely.
pull up some LinkedIn profile and show it.
Oh, Ron Burgundy, you are a pretty big deal. So the reason I show this is because no matter what, all of us have a personal brand, whether you want one or not, and all of us have unique things to share, right? And to talk about and to list on our profile. So you need to make sure that you're owning the fact that you have a personal brand. And the goal is to show people this is their current state. This is how we help them get to their desired state. So that's your profiles in the middle, okay? So just quickly going through this, you definitely need to have a beautiful headshot and a cover photo. Even if the cover photo is just like a landscape picture of mountains or ocean, it doesn't have to be branded. But make sure you have a smiling photo of you and something behind you so it's not blank.
Does it
And
have
then
to,
you're going to want
does it
to
have to, does the cover photo have to speak about your business? What you're trying
not no,
to, okay.
not
Okay.
necessarily. Mine does now. This is an old screenshot I have here. Actually, I change mine all the time. So I don't think so. I've actually trained a lot of teams, and some prospects of the teams I've trained tell them that they prefer when sellers don't have a branded cover photo and they just have like a beautiful landscape picture or something random that just looks cool, you know? So I think it's personal preference, but I am not of the notion that like you have to make your sellers all have a branded graphic. I don't think that's necessary. You're
Oh,
looking here at two founders, right? Like on my screen right now. So, if you're a founder, it's a little bit different. But I don't think sellers need to have branded cover photos.
okay.
Good question, though.
Thanks.
And then really the most important thing after obviously your beautiful smiling face is your headline. So what we want to do here is tell people how we help them and how you are different. We don't want to just say sales development representative or account executive. That's not telling people anything if what it's doing is scaring prospects away because they're like, "Oh gosh, I'm going to get pitched," you know?
Another spammer.
Exactly. Another LinkedIn spammer. Oh no, run, run. So what we're trying to do here is instantly come out of the gate and let people know what we do and how we can help them. So here's some formulas here that anyone can steal. Basically, if you want to use emojis, you can. You don't have to. But it's, what do you do? Some industry experience, some personal info. I like throwing in some personal tips as well. I'll show you that here in a second. So these are a couple of my clients. David here has kind of a value-based sentence right here, dramatically improving brand growth and customer experience via the mobile device. And then at the end, he says pizza snob extraordinaire. And that's what makes him stand out. It's a little bit different, right? And so I love when people can say something. Mine says nomad. Like I change mine all the time. Something to do with travel because I'm a digital nomad. I'm all over the place. I'm in Hawaii right now. So that's what makes me different. And in my about section, I'm like, ask me what country I'm visiting next.
Yeah.
So I can't also stress this enough. We have to be different on LinkedIn. We have to stand out. We have to show our personality. We have to do things that make us look different than every other seller on the platform.
Also, in a way, we can say we have to be real, show our real side.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Show your personality because if you don't, you're just going to blend in and be lame. And LinkedIn is a business network, but it doesn't mean it has to be lame and boring all the time, right?
That-
And then Katie over here just uses a lot of keywords. So Katie's a CEO, and she's like, we're putting in strategic keywords here, top tier talent recruitment and staffing for hoteliers. Like it's very crystal clear what she does. She doesn't just say CEO at Transformation Hospitality Solutions. That it's not going to help her. Okay, so same with sellers. We need to use strategic keywords that tell people this is how I help. And if you want to put your title at the end, you totally can.
Yes. This is quite helpful, Mandy. Thank you so much.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. Uh,
Yes.
LinkedIn, like you said, build a relationship. First, you have to use the sales navigator and find the ICP and then kind of try to interact with those accounts. Once you get done with that, then comments. Usually everybody has something to say in their minds, but right when you start typing, that doubt comes in. Should I comment?
Yes.
Will it backfire? What if people
Uh-huh.
roast me? What if I will be
Yep.
trolled? So, how do you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, really, it's just like riding a bike. The more you do it, the more you're going to get used to it.
Okay.
My biggest thing is do not use AI because it sounds like AI. There's so many spammers right now using AI commenting, and it's so obvious. If you do use AI, that's fine, but you need to like tweak it and make it your own, right? Don't just take AI and copy and paste it or use those plugins, those Chrome extensions that write the comments for you and hit post because it's really obvious. So if you use AI, please customize it. But I try to just picture myself talking to someone in person. How would I respond to this? I have a lot of good tips though I can share here in a second on, some examples. So for example, you can quote it. A lot of times if I'm in a hurry, I will literally just like take a quote, a sentence that I loved from that post, and I'll put it in quotes and I'll put yes exclamation point at the end. Like that's it. You guys don't have to overthink this. Like literally, if you're like, "Oh, brain dead, I don't know what to say." Choose something, put it in quotes and just put, "This is awesome." Yes. Great tip. That's all you have to do.
That's
There's
so
so many
quick.
other ways you can do this, but it's super simple.
It's such a quick thing to do and not at all complicated.
Exactly. Absolutely. Let me share my screen here. I have some other tips here for you. on more that you can, more ideas here on what you can say, because a lot of people struggle with this.
Yes.
So here's some other examples here. So we can do, make sure you always tag the person, right? So great post to hero. What I loved about this was ABC. Don't just say great post, right? And then if you want, if you're an expert on that topic, provide more insights and more value of something that you've noticed or you've learned over the years, right? So interesting to hear. I have also noticed that ABC. You can also ask questions. Oh, I loved what you said about XYZ. Curious, what have you found in ABC? And so you can ask a question, right? There's so many other ways you can summarize it. Like I just said, kind of with the quote, it's very similar to this. So just summarize it. Great post, Tahira. What I gathered from this post was ABC, and you could literally go and paste it if you're really, really needing help. You could paste it into AI and be like, give me the summary of this post, and then just spin it in your own words, if you needed that extra help. And then if someone has a promotion or they got a new job or something, try to elaborate a little bit more. Don't just say, congratulations on the promotion at ABC company. Try to elaborate more. Can't wait to see what you do here, or so well deserved, something that makes you stand out. So we're trying to leave a little bit more insights here versus just saying, great post, this was awesome. And the reason is because people are actually getting more visibility on their comments right now than they are their posts. I saw something today from an influencer that has like 200,000 followers, and one of his comments got like 30,000 views and more profile views than one of his posts did. Okay. So you can see how many views you get now on your comments. And so when people take the time to leave meaningful comments, they get exposure. But not only that, a lot of people, a lot of sellers, they're going after prospects that are not influencers. So when you comment on their stuff, they're going to notice, they're going to see you because they don't have hundreds and thousands of followers. They don't have thousands of comments. So you really stand out because most people are just quite frankly not doing this. And
Yeah.
that's the reality.
And it'll also make those people feel seen, feel heard, and kind of make them feel important. And that's good if you do
Of
that.
course. Yeah, we love boosting egos, right? That's the whole point is like we want to make people feel important because not to mention it's the law of reciprocity. So you engage with other people, they're going to see your stuff, they're going to engage with you too, likely, right? But when it comes to prospecting, we're all about boosting egos, making people feel good, and then mentioning what it is that we commented on. So I'm going to go and I'm going to follow my prospects first. I'm going to like and comment on their posts. Then I'm going to wait a little bit. Then I'm going to reach out and mention, hey, Tahira, I loved your post yesterday about XYZ. Would be happy to connect with you here. There's so many ways to stand out, and just quite frankly, hardly anyone is doing this the right way because it takes time. This is effort. This isn't something that you can just automate. And if you do, it becomes obvious, right? So I
Yeah.
have on the screen here just some examples for people if they want to look, at like what constitutes a good comments. And this didn't take long for people to write these comments, right? I'm not talking about spending 30 minutes writing a comment. This probably took people less than a minute, to write.
Definitely. That is a nice little quick tip that will likely work wonders. I barely even ever post if I'm not able to comment because I know how important it is for reach. And moms are always right, Mandy. Right.
I think it was a post about my mom and I traveling, I think.
Great. Okay, so moving on, Mandy. We've covered comments now. And now messaging, when you have to DM. That is another,
Yes,
what do you call, another big thing on your head. Okay. Because LinkedIn, like you said,
absolutely.
it's social media. Okay, how do you actually send a message, personalize a message without overstepping?
Yeah, this is the probably the hardest part of social selling is what do we say? And there's a really simple solution to this. If you have an awesome profile and you're posting content, you don't have to say anything. You can send a blank connection request and might have a pretty good shot at getting someone to accept it. The
Yes.
problem is most sellers don't have that. They don't have an amazing profile that's optimized, and they are not posting consistent content. And when you don't have that, you have to try a little bit harder because we can't look like every other seller on there. So this is where if they're posting content, you do exactly what I just said. You engage with it, you wait a little bit. It's called my friendly leader method, where essentially we're building friends here. So you comment, you comment on their comment. So there's a lot of people who don't post content, but they comment. And you can see that in people's activity section on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So go to your prospects activity section if they're not posting content, look to see if they're commenting and not just great post, like actual comments. And then you can engage with their comments or you can mention that. Hey, Tahira, I saw your comment on Susie Smith's post about ABC. I thought your point about XYZ was interesting. Don't just say I saw your comment though. You have to go the extra mile because spammers are doing this. Automated tools do this already. So you have to elaborate a little bit more, right? The tricky part is when they're not posting content and they're not commenting. This is where it gets tricky because then you have to find something. You have to find something that can make you stand out because if you send a blank connection request and you don't have an awesome profile and you don't have a lot of activity going on, then you're going to have to try a little bit harder. And so I'm going to pull up a couple of examples here to show you, but you can also do some stuff off LinkedIn. So, for example, if they're on podcasts, you could go and look at listennotes.com and figure out what podcast they're on and mention that. If their company had something going on, or you saw something, a news update on their company post, and maybe they were mentioned in it or something, you can mention that. There's so many different ways to stand out, but here are some examples I have on the screen right here. So I love name dropping. This is like my favorite way to connect with anyone is either getting an introduction from someone or getting permission to name drop. And you guys can do this. If you don't have Sales Nav, you can do it in the regular version of LinkedIn on LinkedIn search. There's a little filter called connections of in the people tab. On Sales Navigator, it's called the same thing, connections of. You put in someone's name in there. So let's say I put in one of my clients' names that I'm close with or a client that loves us. And then I fill out the rest of the search parameters and see who they're connected to that fits my ICP. And then I just reach out and I ask like, hey, how well do you know Sam Smith? Looking to get in front of him. Do you mind if making an introduction? If not, can I use your name when I reach out? And just get permission, right? So this example right here is I got permission from my friend and I reached out to her, checked out her profile, and I name dropped my friend. There's a 99% chance, unless the person's just a grouch, that when you name drop in this way, they're going to accept your connection request. Same if you get an introduction from someone.
Oh, that's great. I did not know about that. Name dropping.
Yes, name dropping. So you literally just like, my friend's name was Rich right here. My friend Rich, first name, last name, is also one of your speakers, thought it would make sense to connect. And instantly connection, right? And then over here on these two sides, this individual was tagged in Federico's post. And so I mentioned that. And I said, hey, first name, I saw your tag. And then I went to her profile. So I saw she was tagged, but I didn't stop there. I went to her profile and I read her story. And I mentioned that. Loved your story about how you got into sales enablement. Two things right there that obviously I did my research to make her realize that I know who she is. And that's why she accepted, right?
Definitely.
And obviously she said, look at your profile and wow, because my profile is legit and optimized. So it helps when you guys have an optimized profile. And then this one down here is a very simple, loved your post on how AI can filter through your email. Such a great tip. So there's so many different examples here of what you can do, but I want to make sure that we're talking about what not to do also. And these are the things that you should not do, okay?
That
Don't
was
ever pitch.
my next question. That do you pitch
Yeah.
in the inbox
I
directly?
don't.
Hmm.
I don't, but I ask questions. So don't pitch, don't send a link right away unless you ask them permission to. Don't ever ask to get on a call unless the time is right and you're talking, right? Don't do that right away. Don't spell their name wrong or send a super long message. So my methodology is basically this. So I find something to reach out and comment. I say that I've noticed something, and then I'll just really super here, like, how is LinkedIn working for you and your team right now? Like really simple. Or how's your team levered? Is Sales Navigator working for your team? How much is your team using Sales Navigator? Like just come up with certain questions that are very nonchalant about your specific thing you do, and then just kind of lead it from there. But you have to be super casual. My favorite way to do this though is to send a video or a voice note when someone connects. Because when people can hear your voice, especially when they see you on camera, you can kind of pitch in a way that's not pitching that you can't do via text, right? Because I can be myself here, and I could laugh a little bit, and hey, I noticed it. By the way, like we do offer this, and it might be you might tell me that you've already got it covered. Like, no worries, but I just wanted to let you know that we can help you with XYZ. So if I can be a resource for you, please let me know. It's so great to connect here.
Hmm.
Like that comes across a lot better than me typing that up, you
Right.
know?
Don't be.
So
Yes.
yes, that's the biggest thing that's getting meetings right now for lots of sellers is sending those videos and voice notes. And just a tip, you guys have to do that on the mobile version of LinkedIn and the LinkedIn messages on the mobile app.
Right. So, guys, just use that phone, switch on that camera, and get going if you need to
Absolutely.
close more. Okay. So, done on messaging. Now, let's talk about posting. I think
Yes.
that's the biggest shark in the ocean, posting, what to post, when to post, and you mentioned somewhere in one of your posts I was reading, going through your LinkedIn profile, that positioning is not equal to posting.
Yep.
Yes. So, what's the
Yes.
difference, and how can we make sure that we are positioning and not just posting?
Yeah, really good question. So here's a hack for everyone who isn't comfortable with posting content consistently. I have the easiest hack for you to start posting content without even thinking about it. And that is start commenting meaningful comments 5 times per day on posts that are relevant to your industry. Okay. So obviously comment on your prospects post that might not be relevant to your industry, but then comment on stuff that is relevant to your industry. Copy and paste those into a document and then go back at the end of the week and look at everything that you've commented, even if it's your prospects industry, because you could still talk about pain points and what's happening in your prospects industry, right? Then you're going to have content ideas that you already wrote. And then from there, you can spin that and then make longer posts from that. So, tip number one for everyone that is nervous with posting, just start commenting. Comment, comment, comment. You're going to get ideas. Click the save button when you see posts that inspire you that you like to get ideas. But the biggest thing is look at what customers are asking, look at what their pain points are, look at your calls, use AI, upload your call transcripts from the past 20 calls that you've had or your AEs. You have access to call transcripts, upload them to your favorite AI tool and have that AI tool. If some people probably already have something like this, like we use Sybil Note Taker, and she already does all of this for us, right? But they can literally pull out these are the most common questions. These are the most common objections that come out. This is what people are asking. This is the pain points that most of your prospects are seeing right now. But pay attention to what people are telling you, right? And then talk about that. Like it at the core, we're trying to get content that people won't care about. And when we're trying to sell something, those tie together. Like, what are the common pain points our customers have or prospects have? What are the questions they're asking us? What's happening in the industry right now? And then from there, we can take buckets of that and expand out further. What are you an expert in? Subject matter expertise revolving around whatever you guys do, and then bucket it out. You can get tons of content from just one topic from different subtopics, but AI is your friend. We created an AI tool also that writes LinkedIn posts. It's super awesome, but use AI. Just don't copy and paste it directly from ChatGPT. Again, we created an AI tool that doesn't sound like ChatGPT. It's formatted for LinkedIn and everything, but everyone should be leveraging AI for at a very minimum coming up with post ideas and strategy around content.
Right, right. What AI tools do you use, Mandy?
Yeah, so I love my own GPTs inside ChatGPT. So we create our own GPTs, but I use all of them. I use Grok, I use Perplexity, those and ChatGPT. Those are like my top three. I use Perplexity a lot for research, but now with ChatGPT's new versions out, it's pretty amazing. So I've been sticking mostly to that, but I make my own GPTs, so it's customized to everything I want, right? Otherwise, it takes a lot of prompting to get it how I want.
Right. Okay. So, another thing is that, okay, you've done commenting, you've done messaging, you've done posting. Now, the problem that sales rep face is that the algorithm. Oh, the algorithm is not with
Oh
us.
yeah.
It is not giving us the proper reach.
Yes.
It is not showing us in front of the right people. What do we do about the algorithm?
Really good question. So let me pull up my screen again because I have some algorithm tips and tricks for everyone
Yes.
here. But before I do that, real quick on the screen, these are some ChatGPT prompts for anyone that just wants to use ChatGPT out of the box. You can take this prompt right here on the screen. We don't have time for me to talk a ton about this, but just FYI, you can steal any of these prompts right here. You can upload things, so upload PDFs, ask it to write you posts based on anything you give it. So much it can do here. So the algorithm, actually, that was my next one. I didn't even have to do anything. Okay, let me go back to this. So the algorithm is constantly changing, and so you really don't freak out over this because you just need to be consistent. The number one thing to look for is the hook, though. Do you have a good hook? And a hook is the very first sentence. If it doesn't capture people's attention, they're going to scoot right on by. And the way the algorithm works is the longer that people engage with your content, they click the see more button, they're spending time on it, they're reading, they're looking at pictures, whatever it is, the algorithm's going to reward you and they're going to show it to more people. So if you have a crappy hook, that's not even a possibility. So make sure that you have a really good hook that captures people's attention. You can also use AI to help you with this. Line spaces, make it easy to read. If you look at my posts, you'll notice a lot of them are spaced out. You don't have to do it all the time on every single line, but we don't want to do one giant paragraph because then it's hard for people to read. So think of how you read stuff and just skimming it quickly. That's what we want to do. This is depending on how great the content is, but try to make it less than 1,200 characters. Selfies and images work really well. Don't have to use them all the time. Only use them if they're relevant. You don't need to be cringy with posting selfies every single day if it's not necessary.
Yeah, that was one
And
of
then
my
try,
questions. That has
yeah.
it become mandatory to post a picture, and is it guaranteed that if you post a picture, the post will go viral or it will get more views or more response?
Yeah, it's weird. And it depends on what it is, but really we have noticed that yeah, images, especially with people in them, they get more visibility and more views.
Okay,
Yep,
maybe because people connect more with images.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless it's a funny image. So usually like images with people or images that are helpful, like they have those infographic images or carousel images that have like educational info.
Yeah.
So there's like a few buckets of images that work really well. One of them's humor, one of them is people, so selfies, pictures of you and other people. And then the third one is those educational graphics, right? Those are usually the buckets of photos that do better if you were to pair it with your text post than just putting text post alone. But sometimes you can have a text post go viral too if it's really, really good.
Yes. Okay.
And then make sure you're diversifying what you're posting. So images, text, videos. And then quickly, I'll just talk about a few more. Reposting is going to help your reach and the person who you're reposting, but reposting your thoughts is going to help your own personal thought leadership, but it's just not going to get as many views if you're sharing other people's posts. So I like to just grab a few lines, tag the company or the person, and mention that. And then some other things the algorithm doesn't like, but I do this anyway. Okay. So I'm telling you this, but sometimes I do it. I've been putting links in my posts more often. You will get dinged a little bit. They like to keep people on the platform. So if you put a link in there to a different site, you're going to get less reach. But if it's important, put it in there. Try not to edit your post in the first hour unless you have issues. So unless you have a typo, obviously fix that. Otherwise, try not to. Don't post more than once every 4 hours. Otherwise, that second post is going to get drowned from the first one. So spread it out if you post more than once a day. If you mess up completely, you can post and delete in the first hour, but try not to repost it. Okay. So you can delete it, but then try to wait an hour before you repost it, or you're going to get less reach. I've done this multiple times and it does actually get you less reach. Don't tag a ton of people. Only tag very strategically because if they don't engage, you're going to get dinged in the algorithm. They don't like that. Okay. And then best times to post. This is all testing. Please, everyone, just test this out for your own network. Everyone is different. But historically speaking, these are the best times to post, what you're seeing on the screen right here.
Right. Great.
But at the end of the day, just test things out. My biggest tip too, if you guys really want to make the algorithm happy and your network happy, is the sandwich engagement, the engagement sandwich rule, which is basically post comments 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after you post because LinkedIn rewards you for being active on the platform. So I'm going to go and I'm going to comment on people's stuff before I make my own posts. Then you need to respond to the comments that you get, but you need to keep commenting after that. So, I mean, this stuff does take work if you want it to work, but this is how you win, right? It's all about engagement.
And some people, complain that, oh God, this is so time consuming. I have to make calls, I have to do emails, I have to work on my everyday routine, and now I have to do this also. It is so time
Uh-huh.
consuming.
Yeah. It's, I'm not gonna lie, it takes work, but you can get in a rhythm, right? That's why we give teams and individuals that we train literally like, here's my 30-minute a day checklist. I try to bump it up to an hour a day now, is what I tell people. But if you only have 30 minutes a day, you can knock out quite a bit. And I tell people, like, this is what you do. Here's the sales nav checklist. Here's the LinkedIn.com checklist. Don't get distracted. Go through the checklist, do it, do it, do it, move on to your next task. Like, if you are focused and strategic and you know what you're doing, you can crank this out pretty fast. And I like batching content ahead of time anyway. I'm not on LinkedIn posting new stuff every single day. I'm planning my content in advance and I'm scheduling it a lot of times. So this is another thing is planning, batching, scheduling. Commenting is a little bit different. You have to spend time commenting, you know?
Yes, so you can do it all. And even if it is time consuming, you can have fun while doing it.
Absolutely.
So try to make the most of it. And that is a masterclass by Mandy. Mandy, thank you so much for joining us today. We
Of
had some
course.
great tips and tricks, and we loved this class.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you so much. Take care and good luck.
Thanks.